In this Bootstrap 4 project, we're going to be creating a website by trying to implement as many as we can Bootstrap 4 elements. Now, by doing so, you can see that our CSS is actually going to be very, very small, right? We're actually going to have only 4 rules over here. This is going to be our main CSS, and this is going to be only our 4 rules because everything else we're going to be doing with Bootstrap built-in classes. So what we're going to be building, we're going to build a nav bar with the links, and over here with a logo and a search form. Then we're going to create this banner section over here with heading and paragraph and 2 buttons. Then it's going to be a 3-column section over here with a font awesome and headings again and buttons over here and button outline classes over here like this. Then we're going to be looking at a about section, right? And we're going to be creating these checkboxes and here on the right. And you can see that with the colors, obviously it's not the prettiest look. However, since we're using only Bootstrap classes, we're going to be looking at a Bootstrap colors, right? So you can always add your own colors if you don't like something, right? Then we're going to be creating a theme section by using Bootstrap for cards. And over here you can see this is going to be our theme. These are going to be font awesome icons, right? Then after that, we're going to be creating a testimonial section with a customer and block quote right over here. And then we're going to be creating over here another banner, right? But this is going to be smaller. So over here, you can see that we're going to be creating a button also, right? And this is going to have the parallax effect, right? So you can see as I'm moving up and down, it stays there, right? Then it's going to be a project section where you can see that we're going to be using a Bootstrap margin classes in order to get this effect. Then we're going to create a contact us section where we're going to have a form, and then over here we're going to have a iframe, right, embedded, so it's going to be responsive. And this is going to be a testimonial section, and over here we're going to look at how we can have a one element displaying on, let's say, one side of the screen, right? But then once we go actually to the smaller screen, over here you can see that it's gone, right? So again, by using Bootstrap, we're just going to get rid of some elements, right, at some size screens and keep them on the others, right? So you can see that if the screen is a little bit bigger, actually you can see that both elements are there. Now this is going to be a progress bar, so we're going to check it out how to do that. And again, you can see that we're just going to do it on the same background. Then we're going to have a price tables, right, where we're going to be using a cards, and we're going to be using the inline group elements. And here you can see that those cards are going to price table is going to look like this. And we're also going to check it out how we can get this effect, right? So how the middle one, let's say, would be longer in the bottom and also on the top. And the last is going to be the most easiest. We'll just create a footer section, right? So now that we are in our setup, you can see over here that this is going to be our title, right? This is going to be only Bootstrap. Then we will have a Bootstrap CDN. Then over here, this is going to be the main CSS. Then this is going to be a Google Fonts, Roboto fonts. And over here, you can see that I'm going to have a font awesome, right? So if we go to our main CSS, you can see that this is going to be our fonts. And of course, over here, I have images, right? That we're going to be using. We're not going to be using all of them, but I still have them, right? And over here, obviously, is main CSS and index.html. Right, so let's go to index.html. We can close out this head element over here, so it's not distracting us, right? So we have a little bit more view. I'm gonna make left and right a little bit more, right? So we can see better what we're doing. And as always, the first things that we're gonna do is actually create a comment, and we're gonna say that this is gonna be a banner section over here, and we're just gonna copy this over. I'm gonna say this is gonna be end of banner section. Right, and in the bottom section, first we're going to create a div class, and we're going to say container over here. And I actually went ahead and went a little bit faster than I thought. Actually, the first thing that I would want to do is actually create a section. Right, section, and I'm going to say ID. This is going to be a banner section, and over here we're going to say class, and we're just going to give it a background dark, right? Because there's nothing in right now in my section, so you're going to be able to see what's happening, right, with that background dark. But I'm just going to cut this one and place this one over here. But you can see that this is going to be this background, right? That's the background dark. Now after that, we're going to have a div with a class, and over here we're just going to say that this is going to be row, and this is going to be max viewport class, viewport over here like this, and that's the one we're going to actually creating ourselves. Align item center. I'm going to show you just in a second what this class does over here. And then within the row, we're going to place a div, right? And we're going to say the class over here, and the class is going to be column 12, right? So in the extra small screens is going to be 12, spanning 12 columns wide. However, on the medium screen, we just want to span 8 columns wide. And over here, within this column, we're actually going to place a heading 1, and we're actually going to give it a Bootstrap class, text danger, right? So this is going to be a red text danger, right? And now obviously we need to write something, so I'm going to say my first over here, and I'm going to say that this is going to be bootstrap, right? And I'm going to say website, right? But what I want to do is actually make this website in a small element, right? Over here, like this Bootstrap one, right? And over here, I'm just going to say that this is also going to have a class, and the class is going to be text white. Over here like this. And you can see that my spelling is not very great today. So we're going to write a website, and you can see that this is actually smaller than this one, right? That's what the small element does, right? So now that we are done with our heading, we're actually ready to use a paragraph over here, and we're going to give it a class lead. This is going to add some extra padding, right? So if we put class lead, and over here this is going to be a dummy text, right? Then this is how it's going to look like. Now, one thing probably maybe we should over here change also this one to a different text, right? So let's check it out. What do we have? Well, now we kept it over here black, so might as well probably let's leave it, right? But over here we could also add some class, right? So just for the sake of it, maybe you can add a text danger, right? And warning, right? So now you can see this is going to be the yellow text. Now after that, after the paragraph, let's create 2 buttons. We're going to say a href, right? And over here we're going to put a hashtag, and we're going to have a class, and we're going to say button, and we're going to make it a large, button large. And over here we're going to see button, and I'm going to say this is going to be primary, so that's going to be the blue one. And over here I'm going to add a margin, right? And this is going to be margin all around. So let's go ahead, and you can see that this is my button, and I'm going to write press here, and we're going to copy this one more time. And now we have 2 lengths, but I'm just going to change a color over here. I'm going to say this is going to be success, right? So this is going to be a green one. And actually we're done with HTML. Now let me go over a few classes, right? So first of all, you see this max viewport, right? So let's go ahead and actually create this class since we need it, right? So I go to main CSS, and I'm going to say that this is going to be a max, and you're going to say viewport, and over here we're going to say that this is going to be min height. This is going to be 100 viewports, right? Over here like this, right? So now you can see that this is actually taking my whole screen, right? Now you can see that it's actually right away in the center, right? And this is by design, but what we did in a HTML, right? So if we go back, every row, right, you can see everything is sitting over here in this row, right? And every row in Bootstrap is actually by design right away a flexbox container, right? So everything that's in here, which in our case this would be this div, right, it is treated like a flexbox, right? So if we add over here this flexbox property, align item center, right, we're right away vertically positioning in center, right? So I just delete one, let's say center, right? You can see that it's right away moves up, right? Because I'm technically, this class is not complete, right? I write center, so this is right away puts it in a center, right? So this is how it works with this class, right? So if you ever want to put something vertically in the center, just use this align item center. Just remember that it deals with one element at a time, right? So right now we have one element, but if we had 2, you would actually view a little bit differently, right? Regarding flexbox. Now the next thing that I want to show you, class, is margin 2 over here like this, and that's the margin you can see all around the button, right? So with the Bootstrap we can add a margin or paddings around the elements, right? In the later sections, we're going to see how to use specific ones, right? Let's say for right or left or whatever. But in this case, you can see that we just put a margin all around, right? So again, I just deleted. You can see that actually margin disappeared, right? So I'm going to put this one back, and now we have everything set up. Now the last thing over here, you can see that I have over here this column medium 8, right? So what I want to do is, let's say, as you can see, as it's going bigger, right? I want to keep it to this medium 8 size, right? Because what I don't like is, let's say that we just delete this medium 8, right? And again, we would go to the bigger screen, right? You can see that this is going to start actually expanding more than I want to, right? And that's why we're adding this class medium 8, just to keep it in line, right? Now, one thing to remember though, that it's automatically going to actually place it on the left side, right? Because it's looking for those extra 4 classes over here, right? So we're going to actually look at how to deal with that later, right? But just for now, this class that we added, column medium 8, is actually making sure that on the screens that are past medium size, this column is not expanding more than 8 columns. So this is going to be it for this section, and let's move on to next. And the next section we're going to be creating is going to be the skills section, right? So if we go and check it out over here, you can see that this is the skills section. This is what we're going to make, right? And all this we're going to make with only one CSS class. Everything else is going to be a Bootstrap. So if we go back over here, and I'm just going to make a comment, and I'm going to say section, right? And then I'm going to copy that, and over here I'm just going to write that this is going to be end of section. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to start writing our HTML elements, right? So over here, if I'm going to write that this is going to be a section, then I'm going to say this is going to have ID, and over here I'm going to write this is going to be skills, right? And then over here for the whole section, I'm going to add some Bootstrap classes, right? First one is going to be background light, right? So if we used background dark, so this is going to be background light. And now I'm going to use again one of these Bootstrap classes, which is going to add the padding all around, right? So you can see that if I'm using padding, again, this is going to be all around, the same as how I'm putting margin all around, right? So over here, you can see that I'm using a bigger number, right? I'm not using 2, I'm using 5. So obviously what it means, then this is going to be a larger padding, right? So if we start putting other elements, right? So over here, I'm going to say div. This is going to have class, and over here, it's going to be container class. And over here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place the title that we're going to use for the rest of the sections. I'm going to write title, and I'm going to copy this one, and I'm going to say that this is going to be end of title, right? And again, we're going to create it once, and then we're actually going to reuse it, right? So we're going to say div, and over here, we're going to say class, and over here, we're going to say that this is going to be row, and we're going to close this one out, and over here, we're going to be div class. This is going to be column 12, meaning that it's all the time going to span all across the screen, right? We're going to say this is text center, and this is going to have a margin bottom 3, right? But remember, this is going to be for the whole div, right? So all our 3 elements over here, this is what I'm creating over here, this margin. This is what that margin bottom 3 means, right? For the whole thing. So over here, we're going to close it out. And again, I'm going to write that this is going to have a heading 1, and I'm going to add this red text. So I'm going to write text danger. And over here, we're going to say this is going to be a skills section over here. And then we're going to create this div that is going to be a text underline, div class. And we're going to say text underline. This is the class we need to actually create ourselves. And for the underline, we're also going to make a margin, right? But we're going to make actually margin and on the top and on the bottom, right? But only vertically, right? So over here, I'm just creating this margin, right? Not to the left and right, actually, but to the top and bottom, right? But if I'm adding Y over here, it works to the top and to the bottom. Over here, I added just to the bottom, right? So when we have that, we're just going to close this div over here out. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a paragraph, and we're going to say that class, and over here we're going to say the text dark, right? So this is again going to be a Bootstrap class, right? The same as how we have a background dark, this is text dark. So over here lorem, and we're probably going to delete some of it because this is too long. So let's delete something like this. And we can probably go ahead and right away create that CSS. So we have right away this line, so I don't forget at the end, right? And this is going to be a row, and this is going to be the title that we're using, right? So if we go back to our main CSS, and let's say over here, and I'm going to create a class, and I'm going to say text underline over here, and I'm going to say that this is going to have few rules, right? First, I'm going to say this is going to be width. It's going to be 100 pixels. Then I'm going to say that this is going to have a border. And I'm going to say this is 1 pixel solid. This is going to be a, let's say I'm just right now going to come up with some kind of color, D2, I don't know, 8-2. Right, so this is going to be kind of yellow. And the only thing we need to do is place it in the center. So I'm going to say margin 0 auto 0 auto, right? And we could have obviously written like this, right? That would do the same thing. Basically, it places in middle, right? So we can say the main CSS, and again, we're not going to be returning for this section back to the CSS. So now that we have the title, let's actually create our sections, right? And what we would want to do is start by creating another row. Over here, I'm going to say div class, and I'm going to say that this is going to be a row. And over here, we're going to place some columns. All right, so we're going to say this is going to be div class, and over here within this class, we're going to say that this is going to be a column. Over here, that's going to be on a small screen. It's going to be whole screen, right? From small. Then we're going to have a column, and over medium 4, and then we're going to have a text center class, right? This is going to place the center, and this is going to be a margin, and this is going to be top and margin for a whole column, and this is going to be over here this vertical one, right? And where we're going to see that on a smaller screens, this margin is going to create actually some little bit more space between the columns when they're stacked on top of each other, right? So now that we have this one, we can close this one out, and over here we're going to place our first font awesome right over here. We're going to say this is going to be class. We're going to write fa home over here, and then we're going to say that this is going to be a fa, and this is going to be 5 times bigger than it's normal. And again, we're going to give it a color, text danger. So over here also we would need to write area over here, hidden, and put it to true. Right, so now that we have this one, right, so we can see that we have our first icon, right? And you can see what I'm talking about over here. You can write C. This is going to be those margins, right? So if I delete this, right, you can see those margins disappear. So what's going to happen on smaller screens, these whole divs are going to be stacked on top of each other. And that's why we're putting over here this margin, right? Now that we have this, then it's time to move on to our heading 1. And we're going to write, this is going to be heading 1. And we're going to say that this is going to have class, right? And we're going to give it right away a margin all around of 1, right? And then we're going to say that this is going to be a home, right? And what happens is, again, this margin is what's all around the actual element, right? And this is, you can see we don't specifically say which side, we're just saying all around, right? So if it would be P, it would be padding all around, right? And over here, we're going to say this is going to be a paragraph. I'm going to say class, and we're going to say that this is going to be text muted, right? So this is going to create a little bit grayish. And over here again, we're going to be creating vertical margin, and we're going to say this is going to be 4, right? And over here, we're just going to place some lorem text, right? So this is going to be 1, and let's say 3, right? And then the last thing, what we would want to do is actually create a link. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to create a link. And we're going to write that this is going to be href. And over here, we're going to say that this is going to have a hashtag. Then we're going to add the usual classes. This is going to be a button class, button, and button large right away. And what we want is actually create a button outline warning, right? So we want to create over here like this outline, right? So maybe instead of large, let's just write outline over here like this, and we're going to say outline. And now we would need to write the color, right? So if I'm writing a warning, then I'm going to be writing a yellow, and over here roll, and we can write that this is going to be button, and over here we can close it out. We can say learn more, right? So you can see that we're actually heading the right direction, right? And the only thing that's left actually here to do is check it out, how big is this div, and over here what we need to do is actually paste it 1, 2, right? And here we're just going to create different font awesome, right, icons. Here we're going to create one of them is going to be bomb, and the other one is going to be I believe archive, right? So this is going to be a bomb, right? And we're going to write a bomb over here, and here we're going to create a archive, and we need to change this one to archive. Right, so now that we have this section, and like I said to you, we only used one CSS class, right? And now we have actually used, I believe, 3 together, so there's going to be only one that's going to be for the background. And we're actually ready to move on to next. And the next section we're going to be creating is going to be this about section, right? So we're going to place over here this image as a background, and we're going to create that this is going to be parallax effect. Then we're going to create these checkboxes, and this is going to be the same title that we created over here. We're just going to write a about. So over here, this is going to be end of skills, and let's create a couple more comments. Over here, we're going to say this is going to be a about section, and then we're just going to copy this one. I'm going to say this is going to be the end of about section, right? So first things first, as always, we start with section, and we're going to say this is going to be ID, and we're going to have a about ID, and then we're going to give this class, and we're going to give this class an info, right? So what you're going to see is that lighter blue color, right? So if you're going to write info, and if I'm going to close it out, and obviously there's nothing in there, so you cannot see, but you'll see that light blue color. That's the info, right? So over here, if we use a background info, you can see that I didn't write a background, right? So if I use the background info, that's what's going to be over there. Now after that, what we would want to do is actually create a container div class, but we're going to create a container fluid, so it has much less margins and paddings, right? So we're going to create a container fluid over here, and then we're going to say that this is going to be a div class over here, and we're going to say again that this is going to be a row, and again we will use this align over here, item center, and if you remember, this is because the row is going to be a flex box, right? Container by design. So in order, if we want over here to place these text right in the middle of the screen, right? And this side we don't worry about it, but this whole thing we want right in the middle. Only thing we need to write with the row is align item center, right? And now we're ready to create our columns. So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say div, and this is going to be class over here, and I'm going to say this is going to be column small 6, right? So on a small screen is going to be half the size. Then I'm going to create a class for the background image, and over here I'm going to add 2 classes that I'm going to explain at the very end of the section, right? First one is going to be order 2, and then we're going to write this is going to be order over here small and 1, right? And again, I'm going to explain everything at the end. It's just much easier to explain once you can actually see what I'm talking about. Over here div, and we're going to write class, and again we're going to repeat, we're going to say column small over here, and we're going to say this is going to be 6, and this one we're going to write order 1 and order small 2, right, over here like this. And now that we have written over here this second div, right, with the order 2, we're actually ready to go and add this about image class, right? That's going to be the background for one of the columns, right? So over here we're going to say about, we're going to say image over here, and then we're going to say that this is going to be a background. We're going to say URL, and this is going to be 2 images. Then we're going to say this is going to be about, and then we're going to say background attachment. This is going to be fixed. Then we're going to say that that background position is going to be a center. Background position is going to be center. Background size is going to be cover. All right, so over here we're going to say that this is going to be a cover. And then there's one last thing that we need to add, and this is going to be a background repeat, no repeat. Right, so background repeat. Over here we're going to say no repeat. Right, and nothing is showing right now because we need to again add the same class for the max viewport. So we're going to go back over here, and we're going to find a column where we have about image, and what we're going to write over here, we're going to say max, all right, viewport. Right, so now you can see that this is going to be our image that's going to be on one side. Right, and over here we're going to write this div over here, and what we would want in this div, first what we're going to do in this div, we're going to get this title, right, the same title. We're just going to over here, we're going to use it for a about section. Right, so we're going to change it around a little bit, paste it here, and we're going to say this is going to be a about over here, and then we would need to place the checkboxes with a paragraphs over there. Right, so now that we're done with the title, we can actually create over here this div that's going to have all the checkboxes over here in paragraphs. So we go back over here and we're going to say div, and first I'm just going to create a div that's going to be a parent element that's just going to have be for the margin. Right, so over here you can see that this is going to have a margin top. So I'm just using this div to kind of push away from my title. Right, and over here what we're going to do is we're going to create a div. I'm going to say this is going to be a class. The class is going to be a dflex, and I'm going to explain everything what these classes mean. Right, so for now we can just keep on typing. Right, so now that we have this over here, then we're going to create a font awesome. Right, so we're going to say class, and over here we're going to say far, and over here we're going to say check, and then we're going to say text success. This is going to be a color, green color. Then it's going to be a background dark. Right, we already typed once, so we know what it is. This is going to be margin right. Right, so only for the font awesome icons. Right, so this little margin over here to the right, and then we're going to create that this is going to be a padding 2. Right, so this is going to be this black padding, and then over here we're going to say align self center. Right, and this is going to be another those flexbox properties that we're going to discuss at the end, so you can actually see what is happening. Right, so area hidden over here, and we're going to say that this is going to be set to true, and over here we're just going to close this one out, and then we're going to say that we would want a paragraph, and we're going to say class, and we're going to have to give it a margin of 0, and we're going to say this is going to be text white, and here we're going to add some lorem dummy text. Right, so we're here like this, and now that we have this, we're actually done, but we just need to go over the classes and actually copy this, like I believe 3 more times. Right, so first of all, why we're adding this dflex. Right, so by default we know that the row is going to be a flexbox container, right? But in Bootstrap 4 right now, right, what they can do is actually we can set any element as a flexbox container, right, as a parent container. Right, so this is what we did for this div. For this whole div, we set it as a flexbox container. Right, and we just set it so we can have them side by side, and actually this guy over here in the center. Right, so over here again, these were only you can see background dark, this was a margin, right, on the side, and this was a padding over here too. Right, so now this align center. Right, so this is that flexbox property. Right, so now you can see if I wouldn't have written this class, which is a flexbox for a actual flexbox container items, right, not the parent, not the div, but actual font awesome, right, which is a child. Right, you can see it would be sitting like this. Right, Therefore, we added this over here property, and you can see that right away now it's in the middle of my paragraphs, right? And another thing that we added over here, this margin 0, right? And you can see that over here, I wouldn't like this because it's technically not in the middle, because over here, this margin, right? So for this paragraph, I just added this margin 0. So it has a margin 0. I could have done it margin, let's say vertical, but I just did it for the whole thing. So now the only thing left to do is over here, we just grab this div, and what we're going to do is 1, 2, 3, right? So we go over here, and now I think it's a good time to actually discuss why we were adding over here this classes, right? This order and order image, order 2 and order small 2, right? So you can see that if you had written over here this image, right, with the class about image, that actually should be sitting here on the top, right? But we didn't want to do that because we just wanted to see how that property works, right? So this is what we did. Because again, a row is a flexbox container, right? What we can do is for a child elements, right? You can see over here, this is going to be the order 2, right? So for the extra small screen, it's going to start as order 2 instead of order 1. And actually, my text is going to be order 1, right? But then, when I go to the smaller screen, right, I want to flip it back. So let's say I go over here, and you can see what happens. This does become a first element, right? And this whole thing has become second, right? So it goes back actually the way it should be. Right? So this is this order property that we can use for, right? We can just flip the order, and we can use over here, let's say for what kind of screen size, right? I could have written over here medium, right? Or large or something like that, right? But I just wanted to start with the small, so it kind of makes sense down the road, right? But again, you can use many properties. And this is actually going to be it for this section, and we're ready to move on to the next section we're going to build. Is actually going to be over here, this theme section. And over here, the next section, we're obviously going to call this a theme. So here we're going to write a theme, and we're going to copy this one, and we're going to say this is going to be end of theme section over here. And then we're going to say that this is going to have a section element, section, and then we're going to say this is going to be ID. And over here, we're going to write this is going to be theme. And this is going to have a class, and over here we're going to write a background for the whole section. This is going to be secondary, right? That's going to be that over here, this color, right? This gray color. And over here, what we would want to do is a padding, and padding all around is going to be a 5, right? So now I can see the whole thing is going to be basically padding all around the borders and everything, right? So then we're going to say div class container, and then over here what we would want to do is actually find where is our title, right? And here is our title. So I went 2 sections up to actually find this one, right? We're going to come back, and within that container, first thing what we put is a title, and we're going to write this is going to be a theme. And once we're done with the title, we're going to create another row. Over here we're going to say div class, and we're going to say this is going to be a row, and then we're going to say that this is going to have a div and class over here column, and we're going to say column, this is going to be small 6, over here column medium, right? So for medium screen, this is going to be third of the screen, and this is going to have a margin top and bottom. This is going to be 3, right? And over here, what we would want to do is actually create a card. We're going to say div class. Over here, we're going to say this is going to be card. And then within the card, we're going to say div. And this is going to be this is going to be image. All right, so this is going to be image. This is going to be source. Source is going to be a images. And we're going to go to the theme. I'm going to find where is theme 1. Once I have the source, I'm going to write over here class, and I'm just going to give it a class of card image, and over here top. And if we close it out, you can see what happens, right? So this is going to be a card, and the image actually is placed right exactly on the top, right? Then still within our card, we would want a div class, and we're going to say this is going to be a card over here body, and over here within the card body, we're going to place a card title. So div card class over here, and this is going to be card title. And here we're going to say this is going to be a heading 3. And we're going to say this is going to be a Peter, right? And then we have a text of the card, so not within the title, but actually over here we're going to create a card div with class with card text, or here card text, and here we're going to place a paragraph. Actually, we're going to say that this is going to be a class, and this is going to be a lead class again, lead for the paragraph with extra paddings. And over here we're going to say this is going to be text warning over here, and then we're going to put some dummy text lorem. Now that we're done with this card text, all right, but still within card body, we're going to create another card text. We're going to say div class over here, we're going to say card, and we're going to say text, and then we're going to add a few more classes. We're going to say text. This is going to be a primary text, so this is going to have a blue color, and we're going to say the text right over here because we want to push those links, you can see, all the way to the right. All right, so text right. So now that we have this class, we would need to place these links. So here I'm saying this is going to be href, and over here we're going to place some font item, right? So we're going to say I class, and we're going to say fa Facebook over here, and then we're going to write that this would want a margin to a let's say horizontally, right? We're going to say margin horizontally 2, and we also would need to write area, and over here hidden, right? Hidden true. So now that we have this, we close it out, and we have our first Facebook. So over here, what I would want to do is just copy this link, and we're going to add 1, 2. All right, so we have this one, and over here we need to check it out. Where is our third one, right? So over here we're going to start. What do we have? I believe we have YouTube, Twitter, right? So we find where is the Facebook, and this is going to become a YouTube, and here we're going to say that this is going to be, instead of Facebook, this is going to be Twitter, right? So now that we have these ones, we just need to copy 5 of them and actually add different images. So we're going to go, where is our column, right? So we find where it is. We're going to create some extra space so we don't copy something by mistake. I'm just going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So now we have 5 of them, and the only thing is what we need to do is, you see that I saved the images like this, right? So we don't need to think much. So here we just go team 3, then we go team 4. Over here, this is going to be a 5, and the last one is going to be obviously 6, right? So now that we have our whole team, all right, so if we go back, this is going to look like this once we make the screen bigger. Now that we're done with a team section, we can actually build over here this testimonial section, right? This is going to be a customer, and this is going to be a block quote, and actually it's going to be sitting in a carousel, right? You don't see any icons over here, but it is actually a carousel, right? So let's move back, and over here we just need to, as always, go to the bottom of our index.html. This is going to be end of team. Then we're going to say that this is going to be a testimonials section, right? Testimonials section over here, and over here we're just going to copy this, and I'm going to say this is going to be a end of testimonials, right? And then again we need to start creating new sections. So over here we're going to say this is going to be a section, and I'm going to say this is going to be ID, and this is going to testimonials, right? And right away we can give it a class, and we're just going to give it a class of padding all around again, and we're just going to say this is going to be a background dark. So it's going to be pretty much the same like we started with our banner. And then again we're going to say div and this is going to be a class, and we're going to give it a container. And then within the now that we're done with the container, we need to go and actually get our title. Right, look where it is. It's right over here. So we're just going to copy this one and scroll it all the way down to our container and just place it in container. So now it's sitting in the container. You can see that this is going to be our theme, and probably over here we can just change it to white, just so we can actually see it better, right? So now that we have a title and we're still sitting in the container, we'd want to place a div over here, div, and we're going to say this is going to be class, and again this is going to be a row, and over here we're going to place a column, div, class, and over here column, and then we're going to say this is going to be 12, and column medium 6, right? But then we're going to do something interesting, which is going to be MX auto, right? And we're going to talk about it. But again, it's going to be easier if we actually see what's happening. But as you can see, we did pretty much the same as with the banner. We added this column medium 6, right? So for the medium screen, this is actually only going to take 6 columns. And just going ahead, this is going to place it in the center. But I'm just going to show you how everything looks so you have a better idea. And after that, we would want to place actually carousel. So here we're going to write div, and we're going to say this is going to be a ID, right? And let's say for ID, we would want, I don't know, something like demo, right? And then we're going to say class over here, and we're going to say this is going to be a carousel over here, and this is going to be slide. And then we would need to write a attribute data, right, over here, and we need to say carousel. Okay, so now that we have a actual carousel, we would need to actually create a inner carousel, right? So how do we do that? So everything, this one is sitting in a carousel, but right now we go over here and we would create a actual slideshow, right? So this is going to be for a slideshow. So what we write over here, we say this is going to be div class, and then we're going to say this is going to be carousel, and we're going to say this is going to be inner, and then we close this one out, and obviously we're going to be placing again our items over here, right? So we go over here, we say div, and then we're going to say this is going to be class, and over here we're going to say this is going to be carousel item, and we're going to say this is going to be the active one because this is going to be the main one. And we're going to say this is going to have a text center class, right? Then after that, what we would want to do is actually place the image for a customer. I'm going to say source, and we're going to have images, and images we're going to say this is going to be a customer. And over here, we're just going to make it a class. First of all, do we want a image class over here? Say class, and we're going to say this is going to be image fluid, and this is going to be rounded circle. But then first of all, we're going to create a margin all around, and then we'll right away going to add a style of width, right? So we're going to say the width is going to be over here. I'm going to say width. Right, we're going to say that the width is going to be a, let's say, 150 pixels, right? So we close the image, and you can see that I created this image, and I like that it's smaller, right? So it's not expanding all over the place, right? Then we would want a, over here, heading 1, and then we're going to say this is going to have a class danger over here, text danger, and over here we're going to say that this is going to be a customer, right? Something like this. And then we're going to have a block quote element in the Bootstrap. So we're going to write over here a block quote, and we're going to say block quote class, and we need to add a block quote, and here we're going to say that this is going to be text white. So now that we have this, we would want to place a paragraph with a font awesome, right? So here we're going to write it a little bit differently than previous. We're going to have a paragraph, and over here right away we're going to place a font awesome class, right? So we're going to go over here and we're going to say fa over here, and this is going to be a quote left over here, and then we're going to say that this is going to be twice the size. And once we have it over here, we're going to say area hidden, and we're going to say true. And once we close that one out, you can see that I have my quotation marks, right? So now what I can do over here, create some space, lorem, and now you can see that I have my dummy text, all right? So I can add some more, or I can just leave it like the way it is. And then still within the block code, we can actually create a footer. And we can say that this is going to be a class. And over here, we're going to say a block quote, over here, footer. And then we'll say that this is going to be a by customer. All right, so now you can see that this basically styles it for us. Now that we have our carousel item done, what we can do, we can go ahead over here and check it that we are copying the correct one. And over here, we're just going to copy this 1, 2, right? So now we have 3 of them. Now the problem is that all of them have over here this active, right? So this is going to be the main one. So if we go back over here, and we're just going to delete 1, and we're going to delete the other active, right? So now it's actually going to start working fine, right? But let's just double check. So over here, what we can do is we can write just some of our team members also, right? I'm going to cheat a little bit, right? Just to see that it's working. So we have our customer, and you can see that we have our team members also, right? So now I can see that how to do it with a block quote, right? And how to put it in a carousel with a, let's say, picture in it. Right? So now that we have our carousel rolling, let's talk about these 2 classes that we added over here, right? And what is the point for them, right? And what I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to quickly delete them. And what you can see over here, if we're going to be making our screen bigger, right, then what's going to keep on happening, you can see that this box is also going to get bigger because of this column 12 class. Now what we can do for that, we can add a column medium 6, right? The problem with column medium 6 that it's also going to shift the box all the way to the left, right? So once we get the medium screen, you can see that it's going to be sitting all the way to the left side, and we don't want that. So what we can do is add a Bootstrap class, which just says margin over here is going to be horizontal, and it's going to be auto. And pretty much it places our item in the center, and what we get is a item that's actually very fixed size, well, like we want for column 6, or we could add column 4 or whatever, but it's actually always going to be sitting in the center. And that's the reason for those classes. And now that we're done with this section, we actually can go and check it out what we'll be building next. We're going to be building over here this banner section. As always, we're going to go all the way to the bottom of our index.html. And over here, what we're going to do is we're just going to say that this is going to be a filler section, right? I'm going to give it a kind of a, well, unnecessary name, let's say, or whatever. But over here, we're going to say this is going to be a section. Over here, we're going to give it ID. And we're going to say filler, right? And then we're going to say class. And over here, we're going to say this is going to be a padding 5, right? So this is going to be a class that we're going to be using. And over here, we're going to say this is going to be a class. And this is going to be a container class. And within a container class, we're obviously going to place a row, div class row. And then we're going to say that we would want a align items center, right? So remember the flexbox property, align items center. And over here, we're just going to say this is going to be div with all columns, right? So div class, and over here, we're going to say columns, and we're going to say this is going to be spanning all across the screen. And over here, again, we're going to use this, use these properties that we just actually covered, right? So for medium screen, I would want it to be smaller, and I would want to be a margin, let's say over here, this MX auto, right? So for a horizontal margins to be auto, but also I would want a place a text in the center, right? So that's a little bit different than actual this whole div, right? So now that we have this one going, now we obviously need to place over here our text, right? And what we can do is we can go scroll all the way to the top, right? Because this is going to be the same one that we were using over here. So we can just copy this one, and we're just going to use one button, right? So we're going to go over here. I'm going to scroll all the way down again, right? And we're going to just copy this one over here. What we're going to do is we're going to change this one to, let's say, white, and we're just going to delete one button, right? So this is going to be one button. And now that we would need to place actually this image on the back, right? But we can do it actually very easy. And no, I don't want to save anything. And over here, if you go to main CSS, right? And now we have a filler. All I would need to do is like this. Basically, I want a filler added, filler ID, and I just say filler. And now I can see that for my filler, I right away have this background. Again, if I go back to index.html over here, you can see that maybe one thing I would just delete this small and website, right? This is kind of out of the way. We delete that, and now we have this going, right? And again, this is going to be a, let's say for 6, right? For 6 columns, right? So again, if we just delete this, you can see what is happening, right? So if we're going to go for bigger screens, right? You can see that it's kind of going all over the place, right? And it doesn't look really good, right? But you always want to add this 6, and you can see that it's sitting much more nicer, right? And this MX auto is going to make sure that it's going to be sitting in the middle. And this was it for this section. Now we're going to create this project section, and we're just going to look at how we can play around with these margins to make look our sections to stand out a little bit. So let's get going. By now we should already know the drill that we're going to be creating a comment. And over here, we're just going to say that this is going to be a project section over here. And we're just going to copy this one. I'm going to say this is going to be end of project. And now that we have that, let's over here create a section element. I'm going to say section, and this is going to be ID. And over here, this is going to be projects over here. And then we're going to say this is going to have a class. And over here, this class is going to be a padding 5. And I'm going to say this is going to be background light over here like this. So we're going to have a light background for the whole section and a padding. And then we're going to say div class container. And then obviously we're going to get our title somewhere, wherever it is, right? So we're going to find where is our title. And we're just going to get it. We're just going to copy this, and you can see over here, this is going to be the title. So we're just going to copy this, scroll it all the way down, and then we'll see where is our container. We just pass it over here, and you can see that this is going to be our title. And here we just write projects, right? So we go over here, and you can see that I didn't change over here this theme. So probably I should do that before you call me out on that, right? So I'm gonna go testimonials, right? And let's see, for the theme, was it there, right? Yeah, it was. And over here, once we have the projects rolling, now we would need to create another div with a class. And over here, we're gonna say this is gonna be a row, and this is also gonna be a column on a small 12 columns, and on a medium is gonna be 4. Right, so we're going to say div class, and over here we're going to say that this is going to have a column over here 12, and then we're going to say this is going to be column medium 4. So now that we have that, we would want a couple of images, right? So I'm going to say image source, and I'm going to say this is going to be images, and this is going to be a project, and this is going to be project 1. And over here, we're going to say class, and this is going to be image, and we would want it to be fluid, right? We wouldn't want it to be its own size. We would want actually to be a fit whatever we're placing it. Thumbnail, right? So if we do that and we close it out, you can see that our image is going to have this nice little white border, and it's also going to fit the actual container we're replacing, right? So of course, if we remove this class, it's going to be the size of the actual image, which is not going to be responsive. And over here, we're just going to say this is going to be a heading 2. And over here, we're going to say that this is going to have a class, and we're going to say that this is going to have a margin, top and bottom. And over here, we're going to say this is going to be a text warning, like this. And then we're going to say this is going to be a project 1. And next, we're going to create a paragraph. So once we're done over here, we're just going to say this is going to be a paragraph. And this is going to have class of text muted paragraph here. And then we're going to say lorem, and that's pretty much it, right? So now that we have one project, it's very easy to create actually 2 more, right? So we have this column over here, and we just 1, 2, and again, I made it easy over here. I just say 3, and over here is going to be 2, right? So we have 3 of them, and you can see that over here I didn't put 2, so now we have 3 of them, right? So obviously what we can do over here is this is going to be project 2, this is going to be a project 3, right? So now we have 3 of them, but I would want to see how we can actually adjust it. So it's, let's say the middle one, we can push it down, right? And it's actually very easy to do. We actually find where is the actual margin, right? So we go, let's say we would want a middle one, right? To be actually stand out a little bit, right? So all we would have to do for a middle one is go over here, and I'm just going to say this is going to have a margin, and this is going to have a margin, let's say 3, right? So now if we go back, right, or if we make our screen bigger, however you want to do it, right, you can see that I pushed actually this one down, right? So if you want this kind of look, we can go for this one, right? Basically, we're adding margins, right? So if we would want to do it over here with a, let's say, 3rd one, right? So here I could add a margin 5, right? So this is going to be top bottom margin. Again, we save the file, right? And we go back, and now you can see that we have something like this going, right? And this is going to be it for this section, and we're ready to actually move on to a next. And once we're done with the project section over here, the next one would be contact us section, right? So we go back over here, and we're going to create a comment, and we're going to say that this is going to be contact section. And over here, we're going to make a comment. We're going to say that this is going to be end of contact. And over here, as always, we're going to start with actual section, right? We're going to write section, and then we're going to say ID, and we say contact over here like this. And then we're going to say this is going to have class. And over here in the class, we're going to say this is going to be a padding 5. And background, we're going to say this is going to be this green one, right? I know this is not the most interesting or best color, but for the sake of actually looking at a Bootstrap colors, it works really well. So over here, we're going to say div class, and over here container. And over here within this container, we're going to place again the title, right? That's somewhere over here, right? So we have a title, and we're just going to grab the title, copy this one over here, drag it here, and now we have the title, but we need to actually call it contact, right, us over here. And then once we have that, we're actually ready to place the card that would have a form in it, right? So here, what is this? This is the end of the title. So here we would write a div, and we would say this is going to have a class, and the class is going to be a row. And over here, it's going to be, this is going to be a div. This is going to have a class of column, right? So column medium 6, and then we're going to say this is going to have a padding right away, or I'm sorry, the margin top and bottom, right? MY3. And over here, we're going to close this one out. And then we're going to say that this is going to be div class. And we're going to say that this is going to be card. And we right away going to say that this is going to be card body class. And this is going to have a color of secondary, right? So this is going to be this, this gray color, right? So now that we have that, let's actually place a card title over here. We're going to say that this is going to be div class, and we're going to say this is going to be a card title, right? And then we're going to say this is going to be text center over here, and then we're going to say that this is going to be text white. So now that we have this, actually let's write something in here, right? So here I'm going to say heading to, and I'm going to say that the new, let's say to app, right? Web app over here like this. We're going to write something like this. Are you new, right? So we're asking, and not over here, but we're saying over here. And then after that, we're going to say that there's going to be a paragraph. And over here, we're going to say that this is going to be new user sign up, right? So user sign up, sign over here up. And over here, we're just going to make this space go away. And here we're going to create a horizontal line like this with HR, right? So now we have the line. And now we'd want to actually place a form, right? And the form goes in the body, but not obviously in a title, right? So we check where the title ends, right? And over here, we're going to create a form. I'm going to say form. And within the form, we're going to say this is going to be div class. And then we need to create a form group class. Group. And then we're going to say margin top 3. And over here, within the form group, we're actually going to create a input, and we're going to say type, and we're going to say text. And once we have that, it needs to be in quotation marks. Then we're going to say class, and we're going to say form control, right? And then we're going to save ID, and ID we're just going to give it a name, and placeholder is going to be name, right? So now that we have this, we actually can go on and copy this one, right? And we would need to copy this 3 times. I'm sorry, 2 more times, I guess. And then it's going to be button 1, 2. And then we're just going to have to make some things different, right? So the first one is going to be text. Over here, we're just going to say this is going to be email. Right, this is going to be email. The next, so the ID is going to be email. And over here, we're just going to say that this is going to be email. And then after that, we're going to have a phone. So this is going to be a phone. And this is going to be a phone. And over here, we're going to write that this is going to be a phone. Over here like this. So now that we have that, let's add a submit button. So last div, but still within the form. I'm going to write a button, and we're going to say the button is going to be type, and the type is going to be submit class. Over here, we're going to say button, and this is going to be a button outline, and we're going to say dark, right? So instead of the yellow one, we're just going to use the dark color. And then we're going to say that this is going to be button block. So it's going to be spanning all across. And over here, we're just going to say like sign up for web app, right? Web app. Right? So now you can see what we did. We used this Bootstrap class, right? That actually creates over here this button that's spanning all across, right? So what else we need to do in this section? We need to get actually this Google Maps, right? So if I go over here and if I see where's my section was ending, right, I need to add another column exactly the same. So I go over here and I would say that this is, I would want div class over here, and then I would say that this is going to be column medium 6. And over here, again, I'm going to use the same thing. Margin top bottom 3. And once we have that, now it's going to be sitting outside here. We're just going to responsive frame, right? And the responsive iframe. So div class, and over here we need to add the class embed, right? Responsive. And over here we'll say responsive 4x3. Embed responsive. And over here we're going to say 4x3. 4x3. Now our other option would be 16 by 9, right? But I'm just going to use this 14x6. But you can try 16 by 9 and see how you like it, right? And then what we're going to do is we actually need to have the iframe, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to look in a Google, and I'm going to say Google Maps, and let's say over here, and we're just going to say Boston over here. And then we have the option of sharing, right? We just grab this. We have embed map, right? So all we have to do is copy this source, and we go back. And over here, we just place the iframe, but we need to add one thing. We need to actually add this column, right? This class over here. So what do? We say that this is going to be a class. And we're going to say that this class is going to be equal to. And we're going to say like this, that the class name is going to be embed over here, responsive item. Save item. Right, so now that we have perfectly placed our responsive item over here in our iframe, right? This is going to be the class, and now we have over here this responsive item 4x3. So of course, if we're going to do like something like this, it's going to be responsive, and it's going to be, you can see it's going to be changing with the actual screen. And this is going to be it for this section, and we're ready actually to move on to next section, where we're going to be working on over here this testimonials. And this is going to be another testimonials, but just remember that in this section we're going to make this image disappear on the smaller. So let's keep going, and let's over here add that this is going to be another testimonials. I know that we already called one testimonials, but I'm just not going to be very original. We're just going to call it the same section over here, and we're going to copy this one, and then we're going to say this is going to be end of testimonial section. And over here, as always, we're going to start with section, and then we're going to say that this is going to be ID, and this is going to testimonials ID, right? And over here, we're going to say that this is going to be a class, right? And we're going to say that this is going to be a, let's say padding, as always, 5. And we're going to say that this is going to be background, and we're going to make the danger one, right? The red one. So if we close this one out, now you can see that this is going to be our testimonials, right? Now, as always, don't make the same ID. I didn't know how else to call, so I just used the same one for this project. But in general, obviously, don't use the same IDs. That doesn't really make much sense. So over here, we're going to say div class, and we're going to say container. And once we have the container, we would probably want to place our title again, right? So again, we're just going to go over here and look, where is our title? Right, it has to be somewhere over here. So we're just going to copy this one, and we're going to scroll back down. Look, where is our container, and place it right inside here, right? And here we're going to have to probably change this one to a, let's say, dark, right? And instead of contact us, let's just copy the same one, because I'm tired of typing testimonials all the time, right? So we're just going to go over here, paste it over here, and now we have testimonials, right? And then there's going to be another 2 divs, right? This is going to be container, and we're going to create 2 divs, right? And the first div is actually going to be a row, and then there's going to be 2 columns. So div class, and we're going to say row, and over here we're going to say align item center, right? And by now you should know already what this does and what is flexbox. I really just don't want to repeat the same thing all over again, right? But we're just placing these items over here vertically, right? Then the next thing that we want to do is div over here class, and then we would want to say that this is going to be column small 6, and then over here we would want to place an image, right? So we're going to say image, and we're going to say source, and we're going to say this is going to be images, and then we're going to say this is going to be images work 4, and over here we're going to say this is going to be class, and this is going to be image fluid, right? So it is a responsive, and then we're going to say rounded circle over here like this, and then we're going to say d none, right? So which stands for display none, and display simple small block, right? So this is the part where we're actually going to be hiding the image, right? So right now let me close this div, right? So this is going to be this image, right? So you can see that actually on a small screen it's going to be over here, but once I go over here you can see that there's nothing going to be in here, right? The image is actually has disappeared, right? And this is because first we added this display none class, right? And then we say starting from the small screen display it as a block, right? So with the extra small screen, but then we get to the small screen and then it's right here, right? And the reason for that, there was a couple just wanted to see that this is the option right now in the Bootstrap. This is how you can do it. And plus with this one, you know, let's change around over here that only the block quote could be seen with these testimonials, right? So we have this first div over here, and then we obviously need to place actually another div, right? So we have this one, and I'm just going to make a room, and we're going to say div class, and over here we're going to say column small 6, right? The same thing. And now we're going to actually place a block quote, right? And block quote is going to be very, very similar to one that we had before, right? So we're going to say this is going to be a block quote, right? We're going to say class, and we're going to say this is going to be block quote, and we're going to say text, right? So we're going to change it around a little bit, right? Over here, and then over here we're going to say that this is going to be a paragraph again, and we're going to place a font awesome icon over here, so it's going to be fa, and over here we're going to say this is going to be a quote, and we're going to say left, and then we're going to again make it 2 times bigger, 2x, and then we're going to say that this is going to be area hidden, and then we're going to say this is going to be true, and then once we have this, can actually close this font awesome icon, right? And then we're just going to say some random text lorem right over here, and let's just make one space over here. So now we have a little bit of room, and we can actually make the room over here by adding this margin, right? If you remember that, let's say margin right, and if I would add 2, right, you can see that I added the margin, so I don't need to do it with the space. I can do it actually over here, and I can create it, control it much more better, right? And the last thing within the actual block quote, right, we still want to place the footer. So we're going to say footer class, and we're going to say block quote footer, block quote, and we're going to say footer. That's going to be our class, and we're just going to write coding over here addict, right? So now we have over here this block code, and we're actually done with this section, right? And again, let's just check it out on a small one, what happens, right? So now you can see that both of them are here, and both of them, all 3 of them are actually vertically in the center, right? That was the align item center, right, with the row. And over here you can see again we're going to create this progress bar, and as always we're going to start with the comments, and we're going to write over here this is going to be a progress section, and we're going to just copy this one, and we're going to say this is going to be end of progress section. Now after that, what we would want to do is, as always, we're going to start with a section, right? So we're going to say section ID, and we're going to say this is going to be a progress. And here we're going to say that this is going to have a class, and again we're going to say this is going to be padding 5, right? So this is going to be padding all around, and it's going to be the biggest padding. And then when it's going to be div class, and over here we're going to say container. And here, once we have the container, now again we would need to place the title. So we're just going to go and look for a title. Where's our closest title? And over here we're just going to say that the closest title is going to be this one, and we're just going to find it where it is. It's right here. And over here we're going to say this is going to be our progress. Right, progress, skills. I mean, you can obviously name it however you would want. But now that we're done with a titles, now we would want a actually place these progress bars, right? So still within the same div, within the container div. Maybe let's make this one a little bit smaller so we can see what we're doing. Let's slide all the way in the bottom. And over here, we're going to say this is going to be div class. And again, this is going to be row, align items, and then we're going to say center, right? So now we have sitting in the center. And again, this is going to place everything vertically in the middle because this is a flexbox container. And over here, we're going to say div class. And then we're going to say this is going to be column 12. And over here, it's going to be column medium, all right? Medium 6, and then again we're going to place it horizontally in the middle. We're just going to say auto, right? And again, this is what we're doing, is we're making this column smaller on the bigger screens, and then we're placing it in a center. Now that we're done with that, we can actually start putting a divs inside it, right? So we can have a first one. Let's say we're going to say that this is going to be a h1, right? And we're going to say this is going to be HTML, right? So we're going to go h1, and we're going to say that this is going to be class, and we're going to say text white, and over here we're going to say HTML. And obviously we cannot see it over here, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to place a background image, right? So don't worry about it if you cannot see it right now. And now we would want underneath to place a div with a progress bar. I'm going to say class, and over here we're going to say progress. And we're going to say that this is going to be progress bar class, and this is going to have a background of, let's say, secondary, right? So we're going to say background secondary, and over here, once we have that, we can close it out. And over here within this div, we're going to say that this is going to be the actual progress bar, right? So div class, and over here we're going to say progress. And we're going to say this is going to be progress bar, and this is going to be success, right? So over here, the only thing is I made a mistake. It's progress over here and progress bar over here. So this is going to be a progress, BG, and this is going to be success. And then we're going to say this is going to have style. And over here, we're going to say that this is going to have a width, right? And we're going to say this is going to be like 20%. 20%. And now that we have this going, we can close this one out. And something I made somewhere a mistake, and I need to check it out where it is, over here. If I close this out, you can see that there is some kind of mistake because I'm still keep putting the same in the class, right? So I need to close this one out. Over here, this one. And as I close this one out, now this one works fine. And over here, I would need to actually add over here one more S, right? And now you can see that everything works. Now the only thing is you cannot see the HTML because text is white. And what I would need to do is obviously I'm going to grab this one, right? I'm going to grab the whole thing. I can see where this one ends. And I can just 1, 2, 3, right? And then we're just going to have to change it around a little bit, right? So here we're going to say that this is going to be a CSS. this is not going to be a success. This is going to be, let's say, we're going to say that this is going to be a danger. The width is going to be also bigger, right? We're going to say this is 40. Then this is going to be a JavaScript over here. This is, we're going to say this is 60, and this is going to be 80, which is going to be the actual Bootstrap. And over here, we're going to say this is not going to be a success. This is going to be a warning. And over here, we're going to say that this is going to be a, let's say that we're going to say that this is going to be, I don't know, primary. But primary, let's say it's anyway by default primary, right? So, and doesn't change much. So over here, Bootstrap, right? So now that we have these ones, and the only thing left to do is actually place the background image so we can see everything that we have done, right? So here, and if we go, and if we just add over here, and we're going to say this is going to be a progress, right? So now you can see what happens, right? So now we added them, right? And let me just save this one and go back to a screen, right? And over here you can see that we have a progress bar with a column wide, right? So the column is going to be 6 columns only on a medium screen, right? So it's not going to be as big. And this, now you can see how easy it is to add a progress bar in your project if you want to. And now let's move on to the next section and let's check it out what we have. And we have price tables, and over here we're going to look at how to make the middle one, let's say, stand out, and how to work with these lists over here, how to push it to the right. And then we have a footer and nav. And we're going to start with making a comment, right? So over here we're going to say that this is going to be a pricing section over here, and then we're going to copy this one, and we're going to say this is going to be the end of pricing section. Now after that, what we would want to do is, obviously, as always, we're going to write a section, right? So we're going to write a section, and then we're going to say this is ID, and this is going to be, let's say, prices, right? And over here we're going to say a class, and then we're going to say a P5 class, right? So padding 5 class. Now after we have done with that, let's actually create a div, right? And we're going to class, and over here it's going to be container. Now after that, once the container is done, as always, then we need our title, right? So we're going to copy this one over here, and we're going to drag it over here, and we're just going to find it, where's the container, and here we're going to place it, right? So now we have our progress, and we're just going to call it this one a prices, right? So this is going to be our prices, and then still within the container we need to add a new row, right? So this is going to be a div, right? We need to check that this is going to be in the container, right? But div class, and over here I'm going to say this is going to be a row. And once I have a row, then I would need to add columns, right? And the first column as I'm going to add is going to have a div class over here, and I'm going to say this is going to be column medium 4, and this is going to have a margin top and bottom. It's going to be 4, right? And you'll see why we're doing that, but just for now, just leave it like it is. And over here we're going to say div class, and we're going to say this is going to be list, this is going to be list group, and this is going to have a text center over here, and then we're going to close this one out, and then we're going to need to start putting a list group items, right? So over here we're going to say div, and we're going to say this is going to be a class, and over here we're going to say that this is going to be a list group item, right? And then we're going to say text, and we're going to say this is going to be white, and we're going to say that this is going to be, let's say, background primary, and over here we're just going to place within a over here heading 1, and we're going to say that this is going to be a with a class of padding, right? So padding 2, let's say something like this, and over here we're going to write that this is going to be a basic, right? So this is technically going to be our basic plan, right? So then we have our list group over here, and we just need to keep putting the list group items, right? So over here, we're just going to start with the first one, where we're going to say that this is going to be a div, and then we'll say class, and again, we're going to put a list group item over here. And once we have that, then we need to have a text, let's say uppercase, right? Text uppercase. And maybe let's make this one a little bit smaller so I can actually, so you can see better and it's easier for me to work. So we have text uppercase, and then we're going to say font, and over here weight, and we're going to say bold. And over here, we're going to place within, we're going to place another H1, and we're going to say that this is going to be a free one, right? So this is going to be free. And now we have a couple of links that we would want to place there, right? So this is going to be another list group item. And basically what we would want to do is add a couple of links as list group items, because we can do that too, right? So here's the link. And over here, we're going to say class, and we're going to say list group item. And once we have that, we can have a list group action also. Then once we're going to be hovering over them, they're actually going to be changing color. So list group item, let's say action over here like this. And we're just going to give it a text warning over here. And we're just going to write it like mail or a server over here. And now that we have this, we need to copy this 2 more times. This is the first one, second one, right? So this is going to be the mail server. Then we're going to have a web server, right? So we can just delete these ones, right? So this is going to be, and this is going to be web server, and this is going to be a DNS, let's say hoisting over here. And once we have that, the last thing that we would want to do is actually place a button, right? So this is also going to be within this list group, and we're going to say that this is going to be div class over here, and we're going to say list group item, you guessed it, item over here. And we're going to say that within this list group item, there's going to be a button, right? Button over here. And we're going to have a class, and we're going to give it a class of button, and this is going to have button button secondary over here, and button large, and button block. So we're pretty much using all the classes that are for the button, right? Block over here. And we're going to also use text capitalize, right? Capitalize, something like this. So we close this one out, and let's say we're going to say sign, and over here we're going to say sign up, right? So you can see that I'm capitalizing everything, and you can see how it looks, that it is the background is over here, this secondary color, right? And now we're actually ready to move on and actually add 2 more like this, right? So this was the first one, right? So we're just going to do this. Just make sure that this is the one that we need, right? Over here. And we're going to copy this 1, 2, right? So now we have 3 of them. And over here, obviously what we would want to do is add a couple of more options over here, because this is not going to be basic. This is we're going to say that this is going to be a standard. We're going to write standard, right? But over here, what we would probably want to do is add some background color. So I'm going to say this is going to be background secondary, right? So now we got the background color that we wanted. And over here, this is not going to be any more free, right? So we're going to check it out what we're doing. We're doing, let's say, $10 a month, right? So we have $, then we have 10, then we have over here the space, right? And then we're doing a month. Over here, you can see now this is how it looks capitalized. And what I would want to do is add more sections, right? So let's say I'm going to copy these links, just paste them over here, and then I'm just going to name them a little bit differently. I'm going to say database and support desk, right? So I go back over here and I say database, and over here I'm going to say support desk 24/7. Support desk, let's say 24/7, right? And so then we're going to go to the third one, and over here we're going to write pro, and this is going to be $100 a month. Over here like this, and we're going to say month, right? And now that we have this one, the only thing left is actually we're going to check it out how we can add over here this button right over here, this one all the way to the right, right? And you can check it out over here that we have the same thing. You can see that as I'm hovering over, right, this is over here, this action list, right, that we created, list group item action, right? So as we're hovering, as you can see, this is what's happening. But again, what we need is actually adding over here this span class, right? And how do we do that, right? So let's say I'm gonna go over here to the last one, right? So this is gonna be DNS, I guess, hoisting, right? And over here, what I can do is I can just write that this is gonna be a span over here like this span, and I'm gonna say that this is gonna have a class, and the class is gonna be a float, and I'm gonna say right. Right, so this is pretty basic. We're just going to be floating right. After we have added the span, we need to add a font awesome. So over here, we're going to write class, and over here, we're going to say this is going to be ion, and then it's going to be a ion star over here, and then we're going to say that this is going to be outline also, outline like this, and then we're going to say fa and fa star, and then we're going to say o, right? So it's quite a long one, but it gets the job done. Text warning over here, and then we're going to save this one, and now we have our font awesome over here. You can see that this is how we added, right? So what I would want to do right now is obviously take the span, and we can add it pretty much wherever we want to, right? So if I go back over here, and I'm just going to say that I'm going to copy this one. So now we need to say, let's say with a web server over here, we'll just copy this one, and over here the same, right? So now we have all three of them. Now let's check it out how we can make those margins to work for the card to stand out, right? So now you can see this one is just bigger because I added more text over here, right? So that was pretty simple, right? But what if we go over here and we check the toppings, right? Over here you can see that I have the margin, right, for the basic one and for the standard one, right? But if I remove this margin for the standard one and I go back over here, you'll see what happens. You can see that this one goes up on top and these ones goes down, right? So this is how we can actually create more space so our cards look a little bit different. This is going to be it for this section. Next section, we're going to build a footer over here, and then we're going to jump straight away to the nav. Last section is going to be a footer section. So over here, we're going to make a comment for the footer, and then we're going to say that this is going to be a section, and over here, we're going to say ID, and this is going to be footer, and then we're going to say class, and over here, the class is going to be background. It's going to be dark, and it's going to be, again, it's going to have a padding 5, right? And as always, we're going to have a container. Say div class, and over here we're going to say container, and over here we're going to place a title, right? So we're going to go back over here, and we're just going to get a title somewhere, right? So where is our title? Somewhere on top probably, right? So over here, and we're just going to write that this is going to be a footer, right? So we go over here, and we're going to copy this one all the way in the bottom. Where is our container? And you can see I missed out this one. So now we have it. And over here, we probably should change this one around. We're going to say white. And this is also going to be white over here, right? So now we have the footer one. And now the only thing is we really need to add just a font awesome icons. All right, so we're gonna have to add another row. So we're gonna say div class over here. We're gonna say row, and within the row we're gonna say div class, and over here this is gonna be column 12, and then we're gonna say this is gonna be text, and this is gonna be center, and over here we're gonna start placing the links, right? So the first one we're gonna say that this is gonna be href over here, and we're going to say that this is going to have a class, and we're going to say this is just going to be a button, right? And then we're going to do the thing, and we're going to put a font awesome icons, right? So we're going to say that this is going to be AI class, and over here we're going to say this is going to be fa Facebook over here, and we're going to say fa 3 times x, right? Text, and this is going to be primary, and we're gonna give it a margin all around. This is gonna be the M2, and over here we're gonna write this is gonna be area hidden, all right? Hidden over here, and once we have that, this is gonna be set to true over here, and we close this one out, and we have our Facebook, right? And again, we just need to copy this one, so it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 5, right? And then we're just gonna have to change some things around. So we have a over here the first one, Facebook, right? After that we would want a I believe Twitter, YouTube, Google, and what would be the last one over here? So if we delete this Facebook, right, and then we're gonna start over here but Twitter, and then we're gonna say that this is gonna be not Twitter, this is going to be Instagram over here. Then we're going to say this is LinkedIn. Where is our last LinkedIn? So this is going to be over here. This is going to be linked in, right? And then the last one we would want a Google Plus. So we go somewhere, right? But we only created 4, so actually I should make one more. So we just copy this one, and we're going to say this is going to be Google Plus. Google, and over here we're going to write this is going to be Google Plus. So now that we're done with Font Awesome, we can check it out over here. The only difference is that I placed over here this text danger. So if we go over here back to the title, white, right? So we write text danger. And now we need to scroll all the way to the top and actually create a nav bar. So let's do that. There's going to be quite a few classes, right? Because that's in a Bootstrap. That's an easy part of making nav bar, but it's also quite a few classes, right? So the first one we're going to do is we're just going to say that this is going to be nav, and this is going to have a class, and over here we're going to write this is going to be nav bar, and nav bar expand, right? And this is just means at what point it's going to be turning into the actual toggle button, right? So nav bar expand small, right? So I'm going to be doing this for a small screen, but we can do it for medium screen or whatever. And again, this is some of the classes. It's easier to show at the end. Primary, right? So this is going to be blue color, and nav bar light. This is going to be just a text color. There's nav bar light and nav bar dark, right? And over here we're going to say this is going to have padding of 3. And it's going to be fixed to the top, right? Fixed to top. Now that we are done with a nav bar, we're actually ready to start placing a nav bar brand over here, right? So this is going to be a nav bar all the way on the top. Now the first thing we would want to do is nav bar brand. And in the nav bar brand, we can place an image, or we can place actually in a link, or we can just place a text, right? So in this case, I'm just going to create a text, and I'm going to say this is going to be nav bar and brand, right? This is going to be the class. And over here, we're going to href, and over here, I'm going to say this is going to be a brand name, right? So this is going to be brand name. Then we need to add a button, right? The one that's going to be toggling once we're actually expanding over here to this small screen. And so what we would need to do is I'm going to make a comment, and I'm going to say toggler over here, right? And let's say we're going to say button. And over here, we're just going to have to add a few more classes, right? So here we're just going to say this is going to be a button. And then we're going to say this is going to be class and navbar toggler class over here. Then I'm going to say type is going to be a button, right? Then we're going to use a data toggle attribute over here, and we're going to set it equal to collapse. And then we're going to say the data target, right? Target over here. We're going to say this is going to be equal to a nav, right? And this is going to be the name of ID that I'm going to be placing in my div. So this is really, I'm coming up with that one. And the last thing in the button, what we would want to put is actually a span. I'm going to write span. I'm going to write class, and over here we're going to say this is going to be navbar toggler, and we're going to say icon over here. And we were going to close it out, and now you can see it on small screen. I have my toggler icon. Now there's nothing in there because I haven't placed any links or anything like that. But the point is, you can see this expand class, right? Like that I was talking to you, like this navbar expand. So the moment I'm going to get to the small screen, right, the button shows up, right? The moment I'm bigger, then it's not there, right? So now that we're done with a button, what we can do right away is we can just say links, right? And these are going to be the links that we're actually placing. The first thing we're going to create is div, and we're going to say that this div is going to have a class, and it's going to be collapse, right? And we're going to say navbar collapse, and over here we're going to say justify content between, right? And this is another of those flexbox properties, meaning that it's used by Bootstrap, right? But it's with a Bootstrap with flexbox items, right? Over here, and I'm going to show you what it does at the end. And over here, it's just going to say ID, and I'm going to say nav, right? And the point of it, that you can see that this ID obviously matches the same one over here. And now only thing we need to do is actually place the links and place the form inside here. All right. So over here, what we would do, we would say that first one we need is unordered list class, and over here we're going to say navbar nav, right? Then we're going to have a list item, right, with a class of nav item, and then inside there we're going to have a href, like a link over here, and we're going to say that this link is going to have a class of nav link, right? So here we can say, I don't know, it can go to prices, right? But I'm just going to write home because I don't see a really big point of like going after skill. I mean, I can write skills, let's say, right? So this is going to be the first one, right? But let's say I'm going to write home. So I'm going to have skills, and let's just write home and be done with it, home. Okay, and over here I'm going to say that this is going to have a class, and I'm going to say that this is going to have a class and nav link. So now that we have that, over here we just write home. We can check it out. What do we have? All right, so first of all, my home is right here, right? So that's the beginning. And if I go over here, it should actually work, right? So you can see that home is coming up, right? But that's the only thing that I have so far. So obviously I'm going to do this 1, 2, I don't know, I'm just going to leave it at 2. And here we can just change some stuff around. We can just say this is going to be skills, and this is going to be skills. And over here, what we're going to say that this is going to be, what was our third one? Skills, and this was about. Right, so here we're going to have about. Right, so now that we have 3 of them, then we would want to add a form, right? So still within this div, but not within this ULI. We're going to write, this is going to be form class over here, and this is going to be form inline. Right, and then we're going to say that this is going to be a div class, and we're going to say this is going to be input, let's say group, right? And then within this input group, we're going to write that this is going to be input type, and we're going to say this is going to be text. All right, so we're going to say this is going to be text, and once we have the text, we're going to say class, and the class is going to be form control, and over here we're going to say placeholder, and we're going to say search. And once we have that rolling, we would need to have a span where we're going to create over here this add-on, right? So here what we're going to do is we're going to add a span, and we're going to say that this is going to have a class of input group add-on over here, and then we're going to close it out, and then over here we're going to place a font awesome, right? So we're going to have a class, and we'll search, and obviously over here also the area hidden, right? True. And we're just going to close this one out, and that should work for our nav bar. And that's pretty much it, right? So coming back to this class, justify content between, right? Let's check it out what happens, right? But it is actually easier if we do it on a bigger screen, right? So if we just go over here, I don't think we're going to be able to see it, right? Or maybe we will, right? So, but in the larger screen, you could actually see it even better, right? So you can see over here this links and this form, right? So because it is treating it as a flex box, right, by design, if you're adding this class over here, let's say that I would write center, right? So again, this is going to be one of those flexbox classes. Save it over here, and now let's check it out what happens, right? You can see that they're actually all in the center, these three and this form, right? But this it treats these three links like they would be one, like they would be one element, and like form would be one element, right? Because we can see over here within this div, we placed first the unordered list, and then it was the form, right? So it just thinks that there's these two elements, right? So you have option, you can have a, let's say, place them all the way to the left, place them all the way to the right, we can center, or we can have the space between or space around, right? So I just chose between, right? And that's how it looks. So basically, they have been pushed, both of them, all the way to each side, right? So there's always space between. If there would be space around, there would be some spaces around here. And this is going to be it for this project, guys. Thank you very much, guys, for watching, and I'll see you in the next project.